I didn't come here to see you. I came here to see my son. My real son.
I was a big Hulk fan as a kid. Something about the big, green, wild man who was prone to showing off his Herculean strength just understood the psyche of a little boy.
Oh man, is nobody gonna mess with you?
Naturally, I enjoyed the 2003 film, and I continued to enjoy it as I got older. But then something strange happened. I became privy to the apparently widespread belief that the CGI in that movie was horrible, that the split-screen cinematography was cheesy, and that there wasn't enough action. The verdict was in. The film was a failure. Not just a failure, a colossal disaster. I never saw it that way. Now, I may have entertained the notion. You ever noticed how people tend to hate what they're told to hate? But truthfully, I enjoy that film more than I did when I was a kid. And as I've gotten older, I've begun to understand why. Not only do I think that this film has some of the most lifelike CGI I've ever seen, and some of the coolest, most physically grounded superhero action sequences, I believe that this iteration of the Hulk rests on a plane of storytelling that most modern superhero films have abandoned. This film is a modern myth. It's not a new idea that comic book characters reflect ancient figures or embody timeless ideals, but few comic book movies do so as intelligently or unabashedly as Hulk. Ang Lee and screenwriter James Schamus tell a story with three interwoven threads of meaning: the physical, the psychological, and the mythical. And in its very cinematography, a bridge is built between the macrocosm and the microcosm. Bruce's transformation into the Hulk is handled so as to satisfy all three levels of storytelling. We learn that as a result of his estranged father's experimentation on his own immune system, something monstrous has been passed on to Bruce. A freak lab accident exposing him to gamma radiation breaks down the door and lets the beast out. But this DNA alteration is only one layer of his inheritance. His aged father makes an unexpected return and reminds him of his true name.
Your name is not Krensler. It's Banner.
And something else, a horrible childhood trauma, can no longer be repressed. What I find so brilliant here is that the source of Bruce's psychological turmoil, his father, is also the source of his physical curse, and in a way, his greatness. In Greek mythology, parents and children often have tumultuous relationships. Heroes mortally struggle with the very beings that brought them into existence. One of the most vivid examples of this is Cronus, who devoured his own children so that they wouldn't usurp his rule. A very similar pattern plays out between Bruce and his father David, who makes it abundantly clear as the story progresses that he will harvest Bruce's power at whatever cost necessary.
I gave you life. Now you must give it back to me.
Unlike the character of Glenn Talbot, the weapons manufacturer who wants to exploit Bruce's DNA for monetary gain, the film's treatment of David doesn't allow the viewer to write him off as a one-dimensional villain. He is given moments of genuine depth, and every word that he utters drips with the subtext of his flawed but compelling worldview. His eventual transformation into a being that can absorb and
partake with the essences of all things
is foreshadowed by his description of the tragic moment when, in an attempt to destroy the monster he'd created, he accidentally kills Bruce's mother.
It was as if she and the knife merged.
He is already excusing his selfish actions with a consoling thought: everything is one.
Do you really believe that I am separate from you?
And therefore everything exists for him. If the gamma radiation released the rage, strength, and heroism already present in Bruce,
the gamma just unleashed what was already there.
than it physically actualized David's penchant for sucking the lifeblood out of others for personal gain. Conversely, Bruce's love interest, Betty, gives of herself in order to guide him gently to the truths of his past that the gruff military types in the story try to force out of him.
Come on, Bruce, aren't you feeling a little angry?
She acts as the nurturing feminine presence that was stolen from his life long ago, and tries to convince David to think on his choices and consider the well-being of his son. But the facade of compassion for Bruce melts away quickly into mere admiration of his alter ego.
You're nothing but a superficial shell, a husk of flimsy consciousness.
In his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Joseph Campbell argues that the mythic father has two sides: the benevolent, merciful father and the ogre. Often a hero must pass through the wrath of the ogre father in order to receive whatever gift the benevolent father has to give. Campbell also uses Hercules, who shares several of Hulk's characteristics, to illustrate the significance of descending into death in order to conquer it and be born again. The Greek hero manifests this by leaping directly into the open jaws of a sea monster in order to kill it from the inside. Now, it's important to note that while Bruce is wrestling with his father, he is literally wrestling with nature itself, as his adversary takes the shape of fire, earth, and water. Violently dragged to the bottom of a lake, symbolizing the descent into the chaos of all-consuming Leviathan's belly, his devouring father's voice unwittingly bestows upon him the wisdom he needs to survive.
That's right. Keep fighting. The more you fight, the more of you I take.
It is at this point that he stops struggling. Any notion of escape from the jaws of death is relinquished. And in this moment, the physical, the psychological, and the mythical tales coalesce.
Think you can live with it? Take it! Take it
Joseph Campbell writes, "The problem of the hero going to meet the Father is to open his soul beyond terror to such a degree that he will be ripe to understand how the sickening and insane tragedies of this vast and ruthless cosmos are completely validated in the majesty of being. The hero transcends life with its peculiar blind spot, and for a moment rises to a glimpse of the source. He beholds the face of the Father, understands, and the two are atoned."
Let's make dreams.
Having reconciled the mysteries of his body, mind, and soul, Bruce can now give aim to the once chaotic anger that gives him his strength. By entering into the belly of the beast, he can now go forth into the world, once a tragic monster, now a hero. I'll never fully understand why this film is scorned by so many. If you devour a story, you might be nourished for a moment, but if you enter into a story, there's no telling what sustenance you might find. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of Ang Lee's Hulk. If you think it was worth watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can know when I upload the next video. And please share the video as well, so that more people can join in the conversation. Until next time, this is Bryce Urey with Excavatus Films. Thanks for watching.